against hunting and the war against hunters. This is an endless battle that us hunters will face forever, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives us the chance to educate people, to engage in conversation, and to really bring across reality. Some people would like to listen to it, some people would like to engage in it, other people only hear the emotional side of it and they don't want anything to do with it. Now, that's fine. I want to talk to you a little bit about the reality. Now, be it any kind of hunting, sustainable hunting where you hunt for meat, for food. Most places in Africa have got that, where the local people hunt for food, me included. Then there's commercial hunting, where a client comes from overseas, I guide him, and then he hunts an animal to take home a memory, to experience something, and take home a trophy. Now we call that sustainable utilization. A lot of people frown on that word, but it's also sustainable conservation. Now bear in mind there are two things here. One should really understand the difference between conservation and preservation. Preservation is to close an area and leave it to itself. No influence from the outside. That's preservation. Conservation is something entirely different. Conservation runs on three things to be successful. There's an economic factor, there's an ecological factor, and a social factor. What does this mean? The economic factor in a conservation area, be that a national park or be that a hunting area. The economical factor is money needs to be generated in order to maintain an area. Research is done. Where does the money come from for it? It can be any type of research in a nature area. It costs money. The management of an area costs money. There is a lot of things that influences the economic value of an area. The ecological management, you talk about managing of water, managing of soil, managing of plants, all plants, managing of wildlife. And wildlife is not just an elephant walking around. It's from insects, reptiles, birds, mammals. Invertebrates are as well. Then there's a social responsibility. In any area, and I'm talking Africa now, there's people. How can you, as a Westerner, living in a first world country, blame people living in a third world country, anywhere in Africa, next to a national park? They don't benefit from it. How can you blame them for being angry at the park and what the park stands for? You cannot. For you it's easy to flip a switch and there's a light when it's night. You turn a tap, there's water. You run down to the supermarket, there's food. In winter time, you turn on an electric blanket. In summertime when it's very hot, you turn on an air conditioner. Have you ever thought about those rural people in Africa that's got none of that? So yes, any nature reserve, national park, needs a social responsibility to keep the people surrounding the area happy. Right. That's in short. Let me tell you about a national park, and I'm going to use the Greater Kruger National Park as an example. The figures I'm going to give you are actual figures that were researched and verified. Let's take water. 400 liters of water, that's 105 gallons of water, is needed per person per day that spends a night in Kruger National Park. How's that possible? 105 gallons of water. Wow. Well, that's what's needed to sustain one guest. It's drinking water. You need to take a bath and a shower, brush your teeth. Your chalet needs to be cleaned. It takes water. The food that you eat in a restaurant needs to be prepared. The dishes needs to be washed. Laundry needs to be done. All of that combined. It's 400 liters of water per person per day. Now, if there's a lodge that has got 60 beds in various chalets, 2 million liters of water is needed a month. That gives you more or less 530,000 gallons of water every month. Where does that water come from? They drill wells for it. Those wells need to be replenished. The water table of the groundwater subsides. That is just to keep an eco-tourist happy. What does he pay? He pays a little bit of money to enjoy the comforts of all of that. We've just spoken about water. Do the math. Now, Kruger National Park has got 12 major camps, rest camps, 12 of them. On average, Kruger Park gets visited by 950,000 people annually. Yes, many of them do not spend a night. They are there only for a day. But in the Greater Kruger Park area, they might spend a night outside Kruger Park in a luxury 5-star lodge and then just visit the Kruger Park. It's still the same thing. That lodge adjacent to Kruger Park needs the same water. And now we've not mentioned waste, human created waste, be it sewage, rubbish, anything. Inside Kruger Park, a piece of plastic. What happens? It needs to be collected and taken away. Yes, there is recycle bins all over the place, but there's still waste. It needs to be collected and taken out of the park. The park itself cannot have huge recycling facilities. The same goes with everything else. The sewage, they make use of a septic tank. What does that do to the soil? Rubbish, non-recyclable rubbish. It needs to be collected and taken out of the park. If you all thought about the human factor, the human influence in an ecotourism area like Kruger Park. Any other national park in Africa operates on the same thing. Now, what happens in the areas surrounding a national park? Let's take, for instance, the Kafue National Park in Zambia, or the Luangwa National Park in Zambia, the Wankie National Park in Zimbabwe, the Gonorozhou in Zimbabwe, Gorongosa in Mozambique, any of those parks. What happens on the outside? Those parks are not fenced. There's hunting areas around it. Those hunting areas surrounding those parks are buffer zones to help combat poaching. I've seen myself in the Kafue National Park where we had a hunting area adjacent to it, where tourists to the park travel to the hunting area to view game, because the hunting area had more animals than the park next to us. Why is that? How did that happen? Researchers that were sponsored by all kinds of universities, they were supposed to do research in the park. They asked us if they could do the research in the hunting area, because the hunting area had more game. Not because it happened that way, because of management. Now people, this is the introduction on the subject about the war on hunting. I'm going to do a few videos in this series, if you want to call it that, and I would really like you to engage, leave comments. I'm going to ask, keep your comments clean, keep it professional, and base it on facts, not on emotions. And please, like, subscribe, tune into the channel, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.